Hi everyone, welcome. Very great to have you all here with us. So I don't know if you want to start with any announcement in business, but if you are in the sourcing business and you have to deal with a lot of suppliers, I don't know if you ever thought, how do I actually know these manufacturers won't burn me alive, right? So that is our mission today. So we're going to break down how to vet properly, build trust, and avoid expensive mistakes. So my name is Kevin, and I'm going to be your co-host today. And now I'm very excited to tell you about our guest today, our speakers, BJ Rogers. He spent nearly 2 decades in Asia building sourcing, distribution, manufacturing partnership across Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, China, Taiwan, you name it. He founded and still run, I believe, still run the East West Consulting and helping companies enter and scale in Asia market. And on top of that, he's actually is the supplier chain, logistic and project management professor in BYU Hawaii, where he helped tons of students. As a fun facts, in Korea, BJ is actually known in podcasting under the stage name as Kim Mi Nam, right? Appearing on TV and live radio for years. So yes, he knows how to tell story and keep things really real. So here's the agenda. So first we hear from BJ, and if time allow, we're going to have a quick QA section. So if feel free to drop your question anytime in the chat, and then we can come back to that. All right, so let's dive in. BJ, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Kevin. And Nita, I feel honored that I would be asked to speak. Thank you. Thank you. I love life. I'm a lover of life. First of all, I love the Lord. I love my wife. I love my children. And now I love all of you, but you come after my wife and children. But I'm excited to be here today. I love Asia. I've spent a lot of time in Asia. I lived in Asia for 19 years. In South Korea, traveling to all the many different countries, setting up manufacturing lines, distribution, and what have you. So I've had some fun experiences. There's a lot that I don't know, but there are some things that I do know that I would like to share with you today. So, but I'd like to do this almost backwards a little bit. I'd like to hear. So I've prepared a lot today. I've prepared to speak to you for about 4 hours, actually. I was figuring out about what I was going to talk about, and it's a long, and so I'm not going to speak for 4 hours, but I could. But what I would like to talk about are things that y'all would like to hear about. So I'm going to ask if there are any questions before we start. And then I promise I will either answer the question or tell you that I can't answer the question. So if there's any questions that you would like to start off with, you can either put them in the chat and I'll see if I can find those, or you can just tell them to me. And I will, once again, I'll either address them or I will tell you that I cannot address them because there are things that I don't know. So if there's verbally that you want to just ask me now or that you want to put in the chat, I'm happy to answer those.
I have one. I could start.
Please.
How is AI changing sourcing?
Okay. Perfect. What else? Any other questions? Let me see if I can see the chat, see if anybody's putting anything in the chat.
From Vietnam. So hello, good morning, BJ. So I'm from Vietnam. So from
Yes,
my
sir.
side, so I expectation to know the trends of sourcing within 3 or 5 years ahead. That's it. Thank you.
Okay.
And for me personally, I'm very interested in sourcing, but never done that before. Just wonder what's the key success? What's the key for the success? And for those people very beginning, how we can start.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Anything else? Because if you have no questions, I promise you I will fulfill your expectations. Okay, well, I will start there. And let's see, I don't see any more questions. If there are more questions that come up, Kevin, if you can watch those questions, if there are more questions that pop up, and just let me know because I won't be looking at there. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. Let's see.
Can you share it?
Yeah, I'm going to see. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can't share. There it is right there. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we see.
Okay. Perfect. So we're going to talk about manufacturing. We're going to talk about sourcing. We're going to talk about really how do you vet some company that you want to know to get to learn how to do it. So this is the basic steps, okay? You're going to get a product. We're going to talk about two different things. We're talking about manufacturing and sourcing. So you have a product, either a product that you want to make or a product that you want to get. And so I have lots of examples around me that I'll be pulling up. One of them is a basic tube, right? This is a tube for lotions and potions that they're going to fill here, that they're going to close, they're going to label, and bam, there's your shampoo, right? A little smaller one. This size is used, for example, for toothpaste, and this one can be a medical something, many different things that you're gonna find in manufacturing. So you want to find a product. Maybe the product is a bottle, right? Maybe you want to do a bottle. Maybe your product that you're wanting is a tube, right? You want miles and miles of this tube or whatever you're going to source. First of all, you're going to identify the product. And then to identify the manufacturers, the basic form is send samples, receive samples. By the way, I'm going to provide Anita and Kevin with all of these PowerPoints that you can share with everyone. So you're welcome to have all of these PowerPoints after. And then you'll send samples back and forth. You'll receive samples. You'll make the order. The invoice will be created. We're going to talk a little bit about payment terms. And then you're going to follow up with what has been sent. It's going to be sent. The product arrives, and then the QC that happens after that. So let's talk about first knowing what your product is. So a lot of people, when they're either wanting to get something manufactured or sourced, they say, I want a bottle. Well, the question is, what kind of bottle do you want? And you look down here, the basic ones that I have here, the different, 100 milliliters, 200 milliliters. What kind of bottle do you want? What kind of cap do you want? I have, do you want a glass bottle? Do you want a bottle that's round? Do you want a cool looking water bottle like this? This is from Korea, for example. They make these where it turns into a cup. And if you look there, all it is the top of this cap. They've just put onto one of these cups so you could use it as a cup to drink water if you're not comfortable drinking out of the water bottle. So the question is, when you've come up with your product, then you're wanting to convey what you want to the manufacturer or to someone that's going to either source, you're wanting to source something that's already made or source something that you're going to have made. What's crazy to do is to say, I want a bottle, and you're thinking this bottle, and somebody goes, no, and they send you a sample of this bottle. Well, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, because they're not sending you what you want. So the biggest thing that I've found, the biggest misstep that I've found, and the value lost is the time lost because of miscommunication. So in fact, when you're talking about the product, you want to know the size of it, the material, the drawings, the look and feel, the samples. And how you best do things is you get them an actual sample of what you want. And if you don't have an actual sample, you send multiple other samples to them saying, I want this cap, I want this size of bottle, I want this material. And so you send them multiple things to say, put all of these together and that's what I want. If you don't do that, I promise you, you will be wasting time and money, because it costs a lot of money to ship stuff and even to get the sample stuff that you want. And so the biggest hindrance in any type of sourcing and or manufacturing is conveying to them exactly what you want. I'll give you a couple examples. One example, this particular product, it's called the Spinex. We made for a client a number of years ago, and they said, we want a pink, they told us what we wanted, and they says, we want this in pink color. Well, so we put the pink color on it, and this is what we sent them. The problem was that pink is not what they wanted. This is a hot pink. And so they got a whole container of this product. It was a 20-foot container at the time of product that they didn't want because we gave them the wrong color. While it was a pink, it wasn't the pink they wanted. Could anybody tell me, does anybody have a guess of how many colors of pink there are? Any guesses? Between 17 to 20. There are 17 to 20 different colors of pink. So what's insane about colors is there's the light, there's the shiny, there's the matte finish, there's the gloss finish. There's so many different types of color and then types of finish on the type of color. So you might get the right color, but you don't get the right finish. And so the key to knowing your product is, when you're sourcing and or manufacturing, is knowing all of the example or give them exactly the sample that you want. And then they are going to send you, they're going to send you a sample after you've sent them what you want. The best way to figure out what color it works is going through what's called the Pantone color system. A Pantone color system. If you go Google or on any search engine, Pantone color, and it'll show you all of the different colors and types of each color and even all of the finishes. So the key is knowing your product initially. So after you've gotten your product, after you've figured out exactly the product, then we're going to go look at the different manufacturers. The things to look at to identify a good manufacturer: what are they currently manufacturing? If they're not manufacturing something similar to what you want, don't use them. Because if you do use them, if they're not currently manufacturing it, what you're going to do is you're going to increase your price of manufacturing. Why do I say that? Is because if they're not manufacturing it, they're going to have the manufacturer manufacture it, and then they're going to put on their additional percentage for doing the work for you. So what you want to find is go directly to the manufacturer that is actually manufacturing it. You want to see in their manufacturing plant, you could initially do a FaceTime with them and have them show you what they are manufacturing in their plant. Because the challenge is, if they're not manufacturing it, they're going to add their margin to facilitate someone else manufacturing it for you. Now, if you know this person really well, it may be worth it to you to have them do that, to add on their margin so they can facilitate whatever they need in country. But if you're going to facilitate everything yourself directly with the manufacturer, you want to identify what are their current products today. Because if they're not doing what you want, for them to learn how to do that, you're going to pay for all of their training cost, and you don't want to do that. Next one is their past experience. What's their past experience look like? What have they done? How have they done it? Who have they worked with, right? Who have they actually done work with in the past? What are their weaknesses? What are their strengths? Referrals are bomb. If you can ask them, hey, can you give me 1 or 2 companies that you've worked with in the past? That's wonderful. One of the things that you have to identify early on is what their defect rate is. And if they claim a defect rate of 0.001%, well, depending on what they're dealing with, that's a lie, right? If you're going to do these tubes, we do, for the example, these types of tubes, we do, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these tubes, and we still have defects. We still have 1.5% defects. It just happens. Machines make mistakes. The injection comes out a little wrong. You know, this little button here is a little short. Maybe the piece here, you know, didn't come off as well, or you know, the inside of it didn't, you know, it wasn't as tight as it should have been, or this little cap right here wasn't put on. Some of them, for some reason, for a lot of different reasons, you can have defects, and so they need to know that you need to know what their defect rate is. You need to identify, when identifying the manufacturer, you need to identify what the cost of samples are going to be. Most manufacturers that know you're a legitimate company, that you're asking for samples, they're not going to charge you for samples typically. Most manufacturers know that they're going to inherently take on the responsibility of making you a sample. A lot of companies will not charge you. The long-term manufacturers that have a lot of business, more business than they can handle, and then you come and ask them for a sample, a lot of them will charge you, because if they'll charge you and you're not willing to pay for a sample, they don't need your business anyway. The hungrier manufacturers will typically just make a sample for you sometimes, once again, a lot of them won't even charge you cost-wise. You need to understand what their process is, particularly their QC process, their quality control. You have to understand, let me see your quality control. I'm going to show you some pictures of manufacturers in just a second, and you'll see a good example of how they've organized their quality control. You're also going to want to know their timing. What's their timing? If you're are you in the queue behind other people that are waiting for their products? How long is it going to take for you to get product from them? And then your order, how long will that take for them to get the raw materials and necessary things like that? And once again, going back to the referrals, their current and past customers that they've had, that's going to be important to understand and know. Let's see. This is the manufacturing of these bottles right here. Can y'all hear that? I don't know if you can hear it as well. You should be able to hear that. So this is an example of making these bottles right here. Same type of bottles, those are just black ones. So I'm gonna switch if I can. Stop sharing, and then I'm going to share again. Are you able to see that? You can see that, Chris? Okay, perfect. So these are some pictures I'm going to go through of a manufacturer out of the Philippines that we use that are very good, and I have their permission to share this. They've given me permission. These are some waterproof circuit breakers, waterproof switches, other circuit breakers that this company makes. If you'll look at their manufacturing, this is in the Philippines. This is in Cavite in the Philippines. Their manufacturing, you can basically eat off of their floor. Very clean, very organized. If you'll hear, these are the production status. These are things that when you go to a factory and you're going to vet them to make sure that they're legitimate, you're going to want to see this is their production. And this is up here, the 6 to 8. These are times. This is the time of the day. So between 6 and 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12, 12 to 2. This is their full day, and this is their target and then actuals, and target and actuals, and target and actuals that they go throughout the day. So when a company can show you this, you are like, wow, that is legit. You are good. So this is some more of their production line. These are all of the different components that go into a circuit breaker. These are production line pictures. Once again, if you'll see it, it's very orderly. It's very organized, very clean. Even their storage areas are very clean. I'm gonna go through here. I want some pictures. So this is part of their storage areas here. They're doing some clamshell packaging right there. Okay, I'm gonna, from this picture right here. This picture right here are rolls of packaging. So when you go to a manufacturer and you say, I want for packaging needs, so you're going to package, for example, this here, and this is a plastic covering. Well, this plastic covering is going to come in these rolls, or the black piece that you see under here, or excuse me, this white film that has this looks like a shattered look. That is going to come on a big roll that you see on my on the picture right now. They cannot buy this in one roll. When they have to order this, they have to order a whole pallet of these rolls. Because they have to order a whole pallet of these rolls, their MOQ, you got to know MOQ, or minimum order quantity. You have to know that it's going to be, they're going to want to order 8 or 12 of these rolls, because that's the way they can get their price down and give you a lower price. If they can order one roll, but it's going to be so expensive, nobody can afford it. You can't afford to buy it. They can't afford to make it. And so just understand, for all manufacturers, there's a reason there's an MOQ, and it's because of the pricing when they order things like these rolls of packaging. So this is the clamshell packaging that they're making here. Okay, these are injection molding machines that are injection molding these plastic parts. So you have a mold in there, and I'm going to show you pictures of molds in just a second, but you have a mold in there that's injecting these plastic resin in. It will open up in just a second. He's going to take the new pieces off. He's going to blow the other stuff off. And then they're going to make another one. So they're making 2 at a time. And depending on the molds, they can make more. This is a stamping machine that they're stamping plastic or metal parts with. Okay, over here on the left, these are different molds. Some of these are injection molds, some of them are stamping molds. For those of you that don't understand, the cost of molds can be significant. All of the molds that you're looking over here are going to be between $12,000 and $20,000 molds that you're looking at over here on the right here on the red shelf. These are stamping molds that you see right here. Anything that looks like this is going to be a stamping mold. This is a stamping mold. These are a little cheaper. These tend to run $5,000 to $7,000 to $12,000. These are stamping molds. These are over here on the left are injection molds. These can run, you know, the smaller ones for $15,000 to $20,000, the larger ones up to $200,000. They can be very, very expensive. So the incoming quality control that they do is very, very good. If you're familiar with 5S Lean Workplace. So when companies have this, and a lot of people can put this up on their board, but when they put it up on their board and they they actually follow it, then it means a lot more. So these places do really well. If you look at even their storage area, how clean it is and orderly. You can tell by all of their paperwork that's updated daily of how good things are and how orderly things are. Anytime you have this type of order in even in your storage area, you're running a tight ship. You're saving money because you're saving space, things are clean, etc. They have work instructions, or what they call SOP, standard operating procedures. When they have that in place, that is available for all of the people to do. Here's another quick video of these guys over here are preparing these circuit breakers. These are starting of the circuit breaker. Those are 3 ladies that help us out a lot. So this is their process information board. Once again, when you go to a manufacturer, you're going to want to know that they know their processes. All of their employees know their processes. So all of this is the standing operating procedures for each of their processes for each of their products. There's their QC testing. Okay. So, all right. Let's break for questions. Any questions of anything I've said so far? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Okay, let me take this down. Okay, so back to...
We have one question from...
Oh, yes, yes.
From Chris on the chat. How do you
Okay.
find these manufacturers, and do you always recommend a facility visit?
Okay, great question. How do I find manufacturers? The best way to find manufacturers is through referrals. Guaranteed in your network, because Chris, I'm in your network. But even if I wasn't in your network, guaranteed in your network of friends and family and their friends and family, you're going to know people that either know a manufacturer, and typically if you can get to a manufacturer, you can get to multiple manufacturers. Manufacturers typically will know each other even if they're not in the same industry. And so the best way to find manufacturers is referrals. A lot of people in the States, for example, they go on Alibaba, and Alibaba will, they'll have lots of different manufacturers and products that you can use there on Alibaba. And some of them are very legitimate, great manufacturers. A lot of them are smaller manufacturers just starting off. They don't have a big clientele yet. They're working to get bigger, but they're legitimate manufacturers. And there's also a lot of scams. So for your second part of the question is, do you suggest a visit? And the answer is absolutely 100% for sure. And this is a little hack that I'm going to teach you about factory visits. Because particularly when you've chosen a manufacturer, the question is how well can you trust them? How well are you going to know them? One of the hacks or the secrets that I've used from many, many years ago, for example, when I wanted to go into the southern part of China or in Hong Kong or in Taiwan, I didn't have a person in Taiwan at the time that I worked with. So what did I do? I got on the church website. And by the way, I'm anti using the church for business. I'm actually anti. Like, I don't go to church to sell my product, or I don't go to church to find business. In fact, when I was working in Korea, I became a branch president, and a lot of people would come up to me at church and say, "Hey, I'm looking for this and this. Can you help me?" And I would always tell them in church, "Hey, I'm not a businessman here. I'm branch president. If you would like me to help you, if you can come to my office tomorrow or another day outside of Sunday, I'd love to talk to you." So I actually turned down a lot of business because I didn't want to talk to people on Sunday and use the church as my avenue for business. However, in one way I will use it because I love to give other church members opportunities and I benefit at the same time. And this is the way I will use it. I will call a bishop up or a branch president in an area and I will say, hey, President Kim or President Chung, do you have a good young single adult man or woman that's willing to do a little side work for me, and I'll pay them $100 a day for them to go visit a factory? And of course, I think 99% of all bishops, branch presidents in the church have members that they can trust that would do that would like to earn $100 in a day to do some work. And so I contact them, I work with them via email, and I actually send them money. Why? Because it's a lot cheaper for me to send them money than to lose money working with a manufacturer. And then I train them on what they need to do. I'll get them to either do an iPhone or Google Chat or some way that we can talk where they can visit the factory for me and be in country. They speak the language and they will take me around their factory, because then I know it's the factory that the people told me that they have. They can show me the products, they can show me everything there, and I can trust it because it's somebody that I know don't really know them, and the factory doesn't know that I don't really know them. And so a lot of those people have actually turned into employees of mine later. I started working with them initially just like that, and then later they actually worked for me full time. I was able to work with them later. So that my biggest suggestion, though, absolutely, is you do need to vet the factories in person, to just trust them, even to trust them to do their, take you around on their own phone, because you still don't know, is it their factory, right? Is that the address that they have on their card, on their website? You do want to dot your I's and cross your T's before you give anybody money. Okay, so that's the product. We talked about the manufacturer. So now, after we've talked, so now you get a sample. And once again, when I can't emphasize enough, after you've gotten your sample, or after the manufacturer will make you a sample. I'll give you an example of another situation. Let me stop sharing this. And I'm going to start sharing my
Sorry,
chat.
BJ, there's another
Yes.
question.
Oh yeah, love a
You
question.
might-
I would just do questions if you wanted to do questions.
Yeah, sorry. There's a questions asking if you cannot find the right manufacturer. So what is one or two quality that you never compromise on?
Once again, one thing in dealing with a manufacturer, one thing I will not compromise on is their lack of ability to open up. To any legitimate manufacturer is going to open their shirt and show you everything. If they will not show you everything, right? If they will not show you their office, their plant, if they won't be open and show you things. Now, they're, because of NDAs, right? Non-disclosure agreements, and because of that, sometimes they can't tell you all of their customers. I get that. Understand, no problem. I won't break an NDA, so I don't expect them to. But at the end of the day, they can show you their place. They can show you, with their machinery, what they have, their what they can do now. If they will not show you certain things like that, their machinery, their location, their office, things like that, it doesn't matter. I don't care if they're referred or not. They're not going to be that open to me. I will not deal with them. So I would not compromise that at all. The second thing that's going to be vital is, so for example, if a manufacturer wants me to pay for a sample, I have no problem with that. That's quite expected. And then they expect me to pay for the sample and the shipping cost. Very expected, not a problem. And then I say, okay, send me the what we call a production sample. And if any along the lines, if they ever balk, or if they ever like, oh, well, we can't do this or can't do that, in terms of sending you a production sample, well, that's just crazy. And so that's a deal breaker. if they won't send you a production sample, because you don't want to get 200,000 of these things if they're not going to work for you, right? You want to make sure they're exactly what you want before you get a whole container load of something you're not able to do, or able to use rather. Love your questions. Please let me know if more questions come up. Can you see my chat right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. So if you look on this chat, this is one of my partners in China.
So, PJ, can I make a comment here?
Oh, please, please.
I think on the production sample, it also depends upon the cost of the product, right? Like if you're doing a piece of furniture where the cost is FOB cost is $500, a factory may not want to pay to ship you a production sample. But if you're doing
No, absolutely agreed.
a tube, then I think it's different. I think that needs to kind of be clarified, right?
Well, so let me give you
that doesn't make them a bad factory if they say, hey, I'm not going to send you free, a $500 or $1,000 item.
No. In fact, if it's a $500 item, I totally expect them to charge me, and I totally expect to pay for all shipping. That's absolute. Once again, that's not unheard of. That are not unheard of. That's normal, because they don't know you. They don't know if you're going to do business with them. Why in the world would they spend $1,000 on somebody they may not know? So absolutely agreed. If it's a $500 item or a $1,000 item, and it costs, sometimes if it's a $1,000 item, a large item, it costs $2,000 to ship it, right? And so because you're going to ship it air to get it there quickly.
And I found too, just another comment I'm going to make, in Vietnam, at least in Vietnam versus China, is in Vietnam, a lot of times the factories will charge you double for samples.
Correct.
And then they might say, oh, then we will give you back, half of it when you order. That's extremely common here.
Yes, it's actually fairly common in China as well, depending on the factory. If it's an old school factory, they typically won't. The newer factories, they don't want to take on that liability. So they'll charge you. So for example, on a $200 item, they'll charge you $1,000. But to your point, they'll credit you $800 on your first order. In other words, I don't want you to waste my time. That's their whole purpose, is not wasting their time. So that's Anita, thank you. That's very common.
And
so
I
if you
want to make another comment real quick.
Oh,
sorry.
please.
And
please.
no one makes money on samples. That's why I always say to my customers, I don't make money on samples. Like we lose money on samples.
Yeah, there's two things you don't make money on. Two things you don't make money on is samples and shipping.
Yes, absolutely, right? So I think people need to understand from the factory standpoint that, you go in and ask them to make a bunch of samples, they're not making money.
Correct. Oh yeah, they typically won't lose money, but they're going to break even or make a little. They're not in the business to make samples. They are not. So they're not doing it for money. So if you look at these, can you see these pictures of this toothpaste here? These are basically these tubes right here with labels on them. So if you look here, this is the Pantone coloring I was telling you about. I don't know. Can you see that? I don't know if that picture came in.
Yes, we can see.
Let me share again just to make sure. See if. Yes, you can see this. So this is for them to compare the Pantone color that they wanted for that gray circle compared to the 877C. Because if you look here of the 876C compared to the 875, see, it's slightly different, right? According to the 874, it's another different. So that's why I emphasize the whole Pantone color thing is really crucial, that you get exactly what you want, because some of them are gloss, some of them are matted, some of them are there's a bunch of different types. So that you're going to want to understand. Let's see. Okay, we're back here. Okay, so you've received the sample. The samples have gone back. You're okayed with you've okayed the sample. This is our sample. This is what we want. This is how we want it. This is the size. This is the label. This is the color. Everything is perfect. Then you get a PO. your key for the PO, this is super important. Your key for the PO, it has to be super specific. Super specific. Your PO is going to need to know everything, how many you want, what the drawings. So some of your initial POs are going to have with it the drawings. In other words, we want 100 of these or 10,000 of these, and this is the exact drawing that we've both agreed on. These are the drawings. This is the Pantone color. This is the pictures of the samples that we've exchanged. So everybody knows this is exactly what I'm ordering. And then what's the timeline of the order? That's why I call it 5.1. What's the timeline of that order for the PO? This is when we expect to get it, because companies, they don't want is to have a lot of capital outlaid, meaning they send a lot of money and not get their product ASAP. Because they want their product back as quick as they can, they're going to want that product, the timeline to be met. Super specifics on what you're ordering, that's key. And then the invoice, of course, is going to come from them. And you want to know that the invoice is coming from them, where it's coming, and the specifics of the invoice. And then you get to payment. The payment terms are, for example, you have somebody that's ordering it from China and they're ordering stuff from Vietnam. Well, the question is, at what point, who gets paid what? I do this with my class all the time. I have 2 students and I says, okay, you want to buy 1,000, or 5 containers of mangoes from the Philippines to ship them to Taiwan. And Taiwan people get offended by that because they think their mangoes are better than Philippine mangoes. But you want 5 containers of mangoes. Well, the question is, at what point do you get paid? Because the people that are filling up 5 containers of mangoes aren't going to fill it up unless they get money in the bank. But the problem is the people that are buying the mangoes from Taiwan, for example, they don't want to send money because they don't know if they're going to get their product. Well, you do always have the option of what's called an LC, a letter of credit. The letter of credit's a good option, but the problem is you're going to pay an extra 1.7, 2.1, 2.5% of the amount on top to the bank. And so that's a challenge, right? But it's a safer challenge. If the amount is typically between $50,000 to $150,000, I don't do the LC route. I go what we call telegraphic transfer, and I'm using, hopefully somebody has visited the factory. Some chances I visit the factory, or I have a church member that I can trust as much as I can trust them, visit the factory, and you do all of your homework to make sure it's okay, because that extra $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 can be a lot paying to the bank. On your first or second time, it may be worth it. It's almost like an insurance to do an LC. Going forward, most companies do what we call TT, or telegraphic transfer. Basically, another word for that is bank wire. And but they'll typically break it up. They'll say at order, give us 30% down. And then at shipping, another 35%. And after you've received the product, another 35%. A lot of companies that work together for a long time, because of cash flow, that's a very normal payment term. I have a number of companies right now that I'm working with that do those exact type of payment terms. So just be aware that you need to understand how to negotiate that payment term. A lot of companies, I will tell you, when they first meet you, they want all the money up front before you do anything. They won't do anything until you've paid them all the money up front, because they don't want to take any liability, because they don't know if you're going to pay them the rest of the money, and they don't want to be out any money. So just be aware of that. A lot of companies up front will ask for 100% up front, and then we'll do it. And then as you build a relationship with them and you trust each other, then typically they'll get more flexible. In fact, one of the companies that we were shipping from out of Taiwan and China, they would make the product, ship it to us, and then we had to pay them within 30 days of it arriving. So that was phenomenal payment terms for the client, right? Because they could get the product and even start to sell the product before they had to pay the manufacturer. But you're only going to do that with phenomenal relationships where they trust you and you're doing a lot of good business with them. So these are the different ways of the different telegraphic transfer. There's a thing called open an account, which is rarely used. So I won't even talk about that because in international business, it's not really used. Then you have the follow up. So after you've sent the product, then you have the follow up afterwards. What went right? What went wrong? Everything that needed to go on in between. So you have the follow up of how the process went with the sample, how the process went with the production sample, how the process went. So you're going to go through all of the different steps in following up with the this particular follow-up is after you've sent the money, did they receive the money? What's crazy is sometimes I sent a wire one time, it was quite of a large wire to Vietnam. Come to find out 2 weeks later, they'd never received it because I had forgotten 2 letters of the middle name of the guy's name. And so I think it was $180,000 sat out in somebody's account for 2 weeks because I had forgotten the LE of the middle name of this guy in Vietnam. And then it took another 2 weeks to get the money back, and then another 2 weeks to get it ready to send. Anyway, it was kind of crazy. And then and then I'll just skip those two. I'm gonna any questions up to now? Any questions?
Actually, before we have a few questions.
Yeah.
First question is, how can I find the customer for sourcing business?
For the sourcing, so when you say sourcing business, sourcing can have different meanings. One sourcing is, I want to make this bottle. Who can make this bottle for me? So you're going to source somebody that's going to make this bottle for me. Or the other sourcing is, I want a coconut water. So who's selling coconut water that I can source, that I can buy, that's already selling it for, and that will what's called white label it for me or OEM it, right? So the OEM or white labeling means I'm going to buy this coconut water. I just want you to put my label on it, right? I want my label on my new coconut or on your coconut water. I want to buy your coconut water. So those are the two main different ways of sourcing. You're going to source something that you're making now, but you want them to make it, or you're going to source something that's already made it or they're already made. So tell me the question again, just so make sure I answer it. The question was what?
Yes, the question is, how can I find customers for sourcing business?
Oh, you mean customers to sell it to?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so that's distribution. That's the opposite of sourcing. Sourcing is getting it, and then the distribution, customers to sell it to. That's a different animal. I'm not the best person to talk to you about distribution. Well, it depends. Some countries I am. Korea, I'm really good at distribution. I have a really good understanding, and I've distributed thousands of products in South Korea. So to answer the question there is typically you have customers that are currently buying shampoos or currently buying vitamin C or currently buying certain electronics, and you're wanting to become their new supplier. So people that make these things, and then you're going to find dealerships or companies that are currently selling it. Now, for you to replace their current sellers, or excuse me, their current companies that are providing it to them. So they're already selling coconut water, for example, but now you want to sell them coconut water. In order for you to sell them coconut water, you have to convince them why your coconut water is better, why their customers are going to like your coconut water better, why it's going to be cheaper, and how they're going to make more money. Because at the end of the day, money talks. People say money's not that important. It's kind of right behind oxygen. It's pretty darn important in terms of in the business world. That's why they're going to make the change. They have a good relationship. They have a good supply chain. Everything's working for them. Why in the world would they switch to you? You have to convince them all of the good reasons. But I'm telling you, long term, lower pricing, best quality, lower pricing, and as good as quality, that does work. But it's a breakthrough. It's something that they'll take a little bit at one time to see if they can trust your distribution, because the last thing they want or don't want is to not have a product. What's another question, Kevin?
Yes. I think he has the follow-up question. I think he's in the sourcing business where he's kind of the middleman. And he looking for customer, and customer try to contact him for particular products, and then he go and find the manufacturers to manufacture the products. So his
Yeah.
question is how he can find the customer instead of waiting for customer coming to him.
Yeah,
I
so
think that's right.
I'm telling you AI. So Anita asked about AI. One of the things that AI is doing now is finding customers for people. One of the things in sourcing that has changed quite a bit, and the biggest area, because AI is not as big in the factories yet, right? AI hasn't changed the factories as much yet. It's starting to, but where AI has keyed in sourcing is now because you can use AI to find people that are buying these different products. Who's buying these products? AI will tell you. AI can find you the phone numbers. They can tell you the managers in charge. It's crazy the information that you can get AI from customers. So my short answer on that is you find it through AI.
Right. Any particular AI tools that you use, or?
No, I don't. There's not one that I've found that's better than the other for sourcing. So that I don't. Yeah, I don't know one better than the other.
PJ, can I make a comment on that?
Oh,
Because
please.
I tried to use that quite a bit, and yeah, sometimes it does, but a lot of times AI won't give it to you because the laws. They
So
can't, because
correct.
if it's information that's already out there, they'll tell you where to find it, or they might tell you this is information already out there, but finding personal information, I think is harder to find. At least that's what.
No, I agree. I agree with you. Sometimes you're not going to get, but you will get company information. Company information is public. And so you'll get company information, absolutely. And then it takes some more homework to call the company and get more information. But yes, agreed. A lot of the personal information won't be available, but it's pretty amazing. Sometimes you will get it. You'll get, Bob Chen, is the contact person for this company. Every now and then because it's on their website. Because it's on their website, AI will grab it.
Great, thank you. Another question actually is for me. I saw on the feed on the Facebook, a lot of people now they're doing kind of short video on how to sourcing in China. They find really great factories, great place. You can find stuff and sell it in Australia or on somewhere else. So I just wonder, in your opinion, is China is still the best place for sourcing it because it's cheap and it's quality compared to other countries?
So this is my take, and once again, this is one man's take on where China is compared to where, for example, Philippines versus Vietnam. So China is still the master. They're by far the best, including India, including any manufacturing country. China's still the best. They are by far the best. They've started using automation because of the cost, but Vietnam's catching. Do I think it'll ever surpass or be better than China? No, they just don't have the numbers, the space, the sheer size. They're not going to beat China, but in areas they're getting competitive. For example, China right now, there are some areas of China that will pay as low as $400 to $500 a month on a monthly salary for a factory worker. But in the bigger areas, you're at $700 to up to $900 a month for a factory worker. In Vietnam, you're at $280 a month. We're talking US dollars, by the way. So $280 a month, even 240 I've seen in Vietnam, up to 500, 600 in the bigger cities. In the Ho Chi Minhs and Hanoi's, they pay up to $400 or $500 a month, which is still much lower than China. Because of that reason, there are products that are cheaper in Vietnam. But for example, bamboo, we were just sourcing bamboo, and China was still way cheaper than bamboo in Vietnam. They couldn't it was like 40% cheaper than Vietnam could supply, and they couldn't even supply all of the reed bamboo that our client needed. So we had to go back to China. And so it really depends, right? It really depends. We know Vietnam, for example, is very, very good in furniture. Their bamboo and other types of wooden furniture, Vietnam is catching up and doing quite well and compete very good in price in different types of furniture and clothing. Clothing, they're starting to compete in some areas with China.
Great, great. Sorry, another question for me. So it's whether or not you should use the third party for quality checking, or if you do, so when should we use it, when you should not do it, because lots of people using the third party to do even the manufacturer inspection, right? Like production inspection and final product inspection, and even for the container inspection as well. So is that still the good practice to do in the sourcing business?
So it really depends on what you're sourcing. For example, something I source is raw materials, right? And when you're going to do raw materials and buy, copper cathodes or whatever, you're going to want an SGS company to go in there and absolutely confirm that they're selling you full on copper when they take a magnet and it doesn't magnetize anything, right? Because they'll put steel inside of or paint it copper color and sell you half of steel. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this international trade, whether it be raw materials or otherwise. So depending on what you're doing, then you absolutely 1000% want a third party. The other things to check on at a factory is the ISO certifications that they have. And are they current? Because it's one thing to have ISO that they got 12 years ago. 12 years ago, ISO doesn't mean anything. What have they gotten lately? What ISO 9000, ISO 13,000, ISO 14,000? What ISO and how current is it? And then if you're going to buy particularly like electronics, then they're going to have either the ETL or the UL mark on it. So if they have the ETL or UL mark on it, you know that their product has already been tested by UL or ETL. And then they come in and check every quarter to make sure that their products are still UL or ETL certified. So absolutely 100% you're going to want third party because you don't know how to test this electronic. Is it going to work or not, or does it have the right certification? So absolutely you're going to use third party often.
Got it. Thank you. I think that's all question that we have.
Okay, so I'd like to go through. So I wanted a friend of mine. I'm going to go through
PJ, can I make another comment? I put a comment up.
Oh, please.
And I just said China's usually always cheaper, but now in the case of the US tariffs, it's kind of made the field more equal. So when we source furniture from let's say if I source from China, my cost from China is always cheaper, but because of the tariffs, it makes Vietnam about the same. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, I actually have I'll just briefly show it to you now. I have this that I'm gonna share with you, Anita, so you can share it with all of the listeners and anybody that wants to see it later. Can you see this PowerPoint now? This is a PowerPoint. So I have my students, especially the ones that I take on a certain trip, they put together a sourcing manual. In fact, this is an example of what a sourcing manual looks like. It's a 60, 70, 80 page manual of sourcing and manufacturing and everything. And one of the better ones that I have is this one, and it's from Elijah Eberts and Sumia, and I have their permission to share it with you, by the way. But I've shared this. This is the flow chart of the sourcing process. And these are all specifics. And the reason I bring this up, Anita, is because it goes into that. It goes into the tariffs and how that levels the playing field. And so this is, it would just take me, that's like I said, I had 4 or 5 hours prepared today. But these are how to identify the products, identifying the manufacturers, all the different things. So I'm going to make this available for y'all to look through later. But thank you, Anita, because that's a good point that you bring up. So I'd like to kind of not wrap up per se, but I was going to go through the whole scenario I did of a product, of this product right here. This is one of the samples, one of the many samples that we made. So can anybody guess what this is?
Look like toilet paper holder things.
It is. It's actually a toilet paper holder. So let me show you this PowerPoint. So let's see. Can you see this PowerPoint now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So a good friend of mine sent me this picture. He initially sent this picture on the left. He sent me it on a napkin. And I says, no, I need a better drawing than that. So then he sent me the one on the right. And I'm like, that doesn't help me much. I need for you to make a prototype. What are you talking about? Because he explained it. He wants a wet roll with a wet roll and a dry roll of toilet paper. And so then he makes me this. And he says, this is what I'm looking for, PJ. And I'm like, and that's crazy. Okay. And over here on the left, if you can see it, it was a hand sanitizer because this was during the COVID era. And so I'm like, well, no. And so he gave me all the things that he wanted. And so we came up with a computer draft of this. This is my initial computer draft of this product. And if you notice over here on the left, there's hand sanitizer, there's an air freshener. Down here, there's a little compartment for the ladies' products. Up top, there's an air freshener, another thing for, yeah, all these different things. And so this was our first initial computer draft. And then we made it even bigger and nicer, and it had a motion light detector, and it had, I mean, every bell and whistle, and everybody loved it. When people saw this picture, they thought, that's awesome, really cool. And so we actually went to and made it. We actually made the prototype. So this was the first prototype we actually made, right? And people thought, this is awesome. This is a prototype we made as well. And people thought, that is so cool. I love it. But I would never put it in my bathroom because it's too big. It will never make it in the bathroom, but I think it's cool. And so these are actually prototypes that we made. And then they said it was too big. So we made this one where it was a little smaller. And then on the left-hand side, you could take it off. So you didn't have to buy the whole thing if you wanted. We made different types. This is, as you can see, big, gaudy thing. It was just too big, right? This was the next prototype with the motion light sensor on it. It had the spray thing on it, right? It had the air freshener. And so you had wet wipes that would be pulled out like this. Okay, so it's a wet wipe and a dry. So this, and then this was the next product. We made this, we made 9 different prototypes, which means money. Every time you make a prototype is a lot of money. So we wasted a lot of money going through prototype. And then we came finally with this. This was our 8th design, if you're seeing it. Our 8th, but it's not our final design.
Okay, PJ Oliver, just showing this video. Everything looks really good. We're really happy with everything. The only problem we can see, if you don't have fingernails like me, you can't get this open.
Yeah. So when you're going through this process, it's crazy how many things you don't think about, right? And so here's we thought was the final version. This is the final version. And then this became our next final version. So then,
okay, just bringing everybody up to speed after that review with Shane. Here's the current final box, and then here's our fragrance sample box. Okay. During shipment, there's some conversation about how these are being shipped together. We have space in this box for this fragrance. So if we're going to do pre-assembled after a 3PL, so that can drip.
So that's the final product as it is now.
Installation video. And then
But as you can see, there are so many things to think about when you're putting these final products together. And then I was going to show you this. Let me turn this back on. So this is a machine because we need to make sure the wet wipes, or excuse me, yeah, the flushable wet wipes actually start breaking down. And this is the testing machine to see how long it takes for those wet wipes to break down. And then I was going to share this with you.
The morning routine.
Can you hear that?
The alarm clock rings, rooster crows, and the race is on. We all start our day in a similar way, by rushing to the throne for that daylight dump. No matter where you're from, we all have something in common. We all poop. And I hate to say it, but sometimes it can be a real crappy experience. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the messy struggle. Say goodbye to the bathroom blues with the fanny nanny. It's not just a toilet paper holder. It's your personal wet wipe dispenser too. No more acrobatics to reach those wipes or soggy TP incidents. We've got you covered on both sides. Whether you're a left side or right side melter, Fanny Nanny's got your back or butt. With our versatile slide system, you'll have wet wipes right at your fingertips, no matter what configuration of outhouse you've got. And hey, for the freestylers, got a standalone version too. Stands sold separately, just like your dignity. No more wasted time hunting for those wet wipes. Spend your time on more important things like waxing your bikini line and plucking your nose hairs. And hey, we get it. Time on the throne is precious. That's why Fanny Nanny comes with a cell phone holder. Catch up on sports, scroll through social media, or stay informed with the news while you're handling business. And let's address the elephant in the room, the smell. Fanny Nanny's got an air freshener compartment, so for every nostril's delight. Perfect for keeping the air crisp, even if your business isn't.
So anyway, I just thought that would be fun to show you. So that's what I have for you. I think I've gone through a little over time, but I would love to hear any other questions you might have.
Does anyone have any more questions or?
That was an awesome boot camp. Thanks, PJ.
I like the Fanny Nanny. Fanny Nanny.
You like the Fanny Nanny?
That was
Thank
so
you.
cool.
That was,
Anita.
Yeah.
that was fun.
We're actually going to distribute that in Vietnam. We have a distributor that's going to distribute that in Vietnam.
Oh, okay, okay.
I thought that was for the US. Did you distribute that in the
Yeah,
US?
it'll be it's actually so we've finished all the first container will arrive in the US in October. In the next month.
You know, in Vietnam, a lot of parts of Asia, they don't flush toilet paper down the toilet.
Correct. They put it in the trash can.
Yeah.
Correct.
Anita, you might want to check if we have more questions or comments in the comment section.
How much, someone's asking, how much is the costing of that product?
So the manufacturing cost, I'm not sure what they mean. Can you be so the manufacturing cost so we actually have a plastic version. Well, of course this is the older version. This isn't even the newer one, but the newer one is we have a plastic one and we have a metal version. It's made out of nickel, or excuse me, it's coated with nickel. And so there's a nice metal version because a lot of people on the high end, they want nice in their bathroom. And so we made a metal version. That's going to sell for around $75 to $80 for the nice metal one. And there's two versions of the plastic one. One's going to be the cheaper version is $39.99, and then there's a $59.99.
And where was that manufactured?
Today it's manufactured in China. However, depending on the sales and otherwise, we might start manufacturing it in Vietnam.
Mhm.
Great. You got people excited about the products.
You
Um,
know what's crazy about that? So typically when I work for people, I work for money. And for the fanny nanny, I thought this is money. This is a good idea. And so I didn't take any money. And so then I worked with the guy that came up with it, and I says, I'll just, I'll do this for sweat equity. And we actually did a trial and went to a mall in the US and asked people that were homeowners, uh, and they had to be above 35. Homeowners and above 35, would you buy the fanny nanny? And out of 400 and something people, everyone said yes. There wasn't one person that said no. Oh, excuse me. They had to be above 35 homeowners, and they had to have used wet wipes before, flushable wet wipes. You have used them before, then every one of those people that we asked, 400 and something people, said yes, they would buy it. So it should be fun. It will see. Hopefully you'll see lots of advertisements around it.
Great. Thank you. I think it's the last question for me is if someone is really excited to jumpstart this kind of career, or they have this kind of business started, what advice you would suggest and give to them, and how you think that they should start?
So one of the things I'm going to tell you in starting in any type of sourcing, manufacturing, distribution, it's tough, right? It's a tough business. Once you've gotten into it, once you're doing it, it's a great business because it continues to, you can be on the beach and still be making money because you've started this process that's continuing to go. But because it's so lucrative, once you've gotten things going, everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants lucrative. So it's really hard to break in. So my suggestion is absolutely do it, but don't expect to be making a living off of it immediately or too soon, because it can be very spotty. It can be there's a spot deal where you'll make good money for 3 months, but then after that, they don't order anymore. And so your income drops off. And then, so now you need 3 or 4 or 5 consistent ones. So if you drop off, you still have a consistent income. So my point is absolutely start it, absolutely go after it, but keep your day job first. Keep your day job. Make sure you have a living, can feed your family, can do what you need to do while you've started this process. And at a certain point, you could give up your job depending on your success with it. But my suggestion is start it, but don't expect to make a mint real fast.
Great.
Sorry,
Thanks.
PJ, making a few comments here. If I can make a comment too. In my experience, a lot of it too is it's quite technical. Like you think it's not technical, but plastics is technical. Understanding what kind of plastics to have, or metal, or furniture, those require some technical understanding, or you could lose your shirt very quickly.
Yeah, agreed. You'll find out how much you don't know the first job you do. Somebody's gonna say, HDP. Well, what is that? Well, it's a type of plastic. PEP, PTP, PP. There's so many different, and if you use the wrong plastic, to Anita's point, you're gonna lose your shirt, right? Because you're gonna have to pay for this massive mistake you made. That's why I go back with the samples, confirming the samples, having them send them as, make sure you understand it, because to Anita's point, it can be very technical.
Perfect. Thank you, PJ. I think we're going to leave a few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, to see if it is any other question from the audience, and then we can close. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Chris had a question too, or a comment, not to mention there's still income terms to think of. FOB, CIF.
Where did Chris learn those Incoterms? I have no idea where he learned those Incoterms.
It must have been from PJ.
Maybe it was on the front row where he used to sit. So yeah, in dealing with these, you need to know the Incoterms. And the Incoterms basically meaning from X Works. All manufacturers want to sell things X Works. What does that mean? That means the manufacturer, as soon as it's off of his dock into the truck, the manufacturer has no responsibility, and it all goes now to the buyer. And so the buyer doesn't have it yet. It's in a shipping, but the buyer's responsible for it. That's Ex Works. And then the next one that is most common is what's called FOB. And that's the most common term is FOB, is free on board. So the manufacturer gets it to his port, gets it on the ship. And once it's on the ship, now it's the buyer's responsibility. The manufacturer is not. The manufacturer wants Ex Works, but a lot of them will do FOB for you because it's in their country. They can facilitate that, but you're going to pay for it. And then the next one is CNF or CFR. In today's world, they call it CFR. And when I was younger, it was CNF, but it's the same term. It basically means we're going to send it to your port, and your port, it's uninsured because it's CNF or CFR. And then there's CIF, which is insured to the port. And then you have, and there's other ones. There's free alongside ship and what have you. But the main one most people are interested is DDP, which is I'm going to deliver it from my manufacturer to your door, to your warehouse, and take care of all the cost and responsibility all the way to your door. And that's DDP. Chris could have told you all of that, but I took his stage and told it for him. Well, if I may, the last thing I love to teach and talk about this in when you're working for someone, 2 words that you need to learn to live by and work with and do is effective and efficient. When you're dealing with sourcing, when you're dealing with manufacturers, you got to look for effective and efficient. People think, well, it's too similar. No, they're very different. Effective is good and efficient is quick, right? And so those are 2 things that have to become the biggest part of your vocabulary in dealing with any type of sourcing is being effective and efficient. One other little hack that I'm going to talk about in interviewing. I spend like 2 classes on every class I teach. I want to teach interviewing because most people don't. You're phenomenally good. You're awesome. You're wonderful. You have all this talent in the world, but you don't know how to say it. And so when you interview, I'm going to tell you 2 hacks. One hack is whenever you're interviewing with someone and they ask you a question in the interview, and they ask you a question that says, oh, so you studied engineering in school, how was that? Or they'll say, oh, you had a job as so-and-so, how was that? Well, their actual question is, comma, and why should I hire you? So when you're answering their question, their interview question that said, you know, how was that? Or did you like that? Or what did you learn from that? Their real question is, answer that question and now tell me why I should hire you. Why and the reason will you be an asset to my company? So every question they ask, you need to end by telling them why they should hire you with that question as the background. So, for example, I would say, for example, if I graduated from BYU Hawaii, you know, oh, so you went to Hawaii, BYU Hawaii, how was that? Well, oh, it was fun. It was nice. It was great. I loved it. I had a good experience. Hawaii was beautiful. Well, that means nothing. That means absolutely nothing to them. The answer is well, I tell you, the thing that I learned at BYU Hawaii is I went to school with, had to school with, coworkers from, and I did successful projects with people from more than 70 countries. I understand international English like no one else you'll ever hire. There's not an accent that is too unique for me to understand and be comfortable with, and I can help them be comfortable. So whether it be any of my coworkers in your company or any of the customers that I ever meet, I will be so this is the kind of answer that you need to give them. Answer their question, but answer their real question with every question. And then at the end of the interview, when they said, do you have any questions? This is a dynamite, the best question you're ever going to ask at the end of the interview. You're going to say, what does a successful Kevin, what does a successful Marjorie, Iris, you know, Long, Rebecca, You know, what does a successful lady look like a year from now after you've hired me? What have I done? What success have I had? What impact have I created for the company? What value have I brought on? What does that look like a year after you've hired me? That question will blow them away because one, they're not expecting it. And two, now they're going to have to put you in their head, hired in their company a year from now. It is a phenomenal question that will blow them away, and it will be one of the reasons you get hired is asking that question. I have a lot more to talk about, but I've talked a long time, but I have loved this. Thank you for asking me to come. I hope it's been of some value to some or all of you. But I love to help anybody I can. My main goal in life is to help people be happy. And so if I've made you a little more happy, then God bless you.
Thank you, BJ. All right, that was solid. Huge thanks to BJ for unpacking and what most of people only learn after the few painful mistake, right? So
Right.
we actually have a certificate that we would like to present and also give to BJ. This one is a virtual and digital right now, but later we will send to you with the Anita
Thank you.
signatures. So I just want to show this very quickly for everyone.
PJ, so thank you for the sharing. But last question I would like to ask, with your expertise, do you have any, do you know any platform or group where I can shop reliable US supplier for product, such as chicken, beef, or fries? Because I work in the quick service restaurant here in Vietnam.
For beef, are you asking for beef?
Yeah, especially the product that's fit with the quick service restaurant here in Vietnam, like chicken, beef, etc.
So are you wanting to buy it from the US?
Yes, yes.
I would talk to the FDA. If you contact me, a guy that walks my dog that I see in the morning that walks my dog is the FDA for the US Embassy here. I could try to get his information sometime.
This is what a lot of people, this is another hack a lot of people don't know. Most US embassies, they have a commerce division in it that their purpose is to help you connect with American companies to buy American products. They have a commerce like Anita was talking about. There's going to be people in Vietnam. Their job is to help you connect to American companies so they can sell you stuff. That's one of their jobs, is the commerce department in an embassy.
Yeah, and my neighbor is the FDA. I
Perfect.
just know him by his dog's name. So sorry, I'd have to get his information next time I see him with his dog.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
people by their dog names at my park.
Yeah.
My dog park.
Yeah. That's fun.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. So this is the certificates that we would like to, on behalf of BYU MS, I would like to present to you and give it to you, the certificate of appreciation. Thank you so much for your time and your sharing. It's super helpful for all of us here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And thank you for all for attending. It makes me honored that even one person other than Kevin and Anita showed up. So it made me happy to see more people. So thank you.
Right. So let me close. Thank you everyone for joining today as well. And